Hi there, everybody. Pods with Posh and Pool, day 13. Hi, Jo. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. How are you doing today?
I'm good. We're rather late in the day because we have actually been recording all day some really exciting podcasts. We have also been trying to get on board to do a live Facebook with our amazing listeners. Thank you for being so patient. We've just tried twice, but we can't. Apparently, Facebook will still not let you be in two separate locations to do a live. So, Jo, I have to say, I do miss you sitting here side by side, but I'm sure we'll find a way. If any of our listeners know of a way to get two separate people in separate houses on one live recording on Facebook, please message us. But today we are on day 13 of our podcast releases for lockdown, and we are speaking on sitting in the unknown, which is actually very relevant for us today because we've done lots of things that we do not know about. We're very much in the unknown.
We're pretty much always in the unknown, aren't we, Sue, to be fair? Because what actually do we know when we think about it? What we really only know is what's familiar to us, and that's what we've been talking all day about certain things, but what actually do we know? But right now, everything seems very unknown, doesn't it? We don't know how long this lockdown's going to continue. We don't know how far the virus is going to spread. We don't know even if lockdown is actually working in the country yet. There's so many unknowns right now.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because a year ago, you and I had never contemplated doing a podcast. So we started doing podcasts a year ago. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. So a year down the line, almost, we have a rough idea of how to record a podcast, how to release it onto various different sites, how to transfer that into YouTube and all the different social media sites. So we've learned quite a lot. Whereas now we found ourselves sitting in lockdown, like our listeners, not knowing, as you say, where we're going. So we're again sitting in the unknown. And when we look back on our life, we look back on events, it's easy to say, gosh, it makes sense now. When we're in it, it's much harder. And Jacinda, our Prime Minister, yesterday was speaking to New Zealand, saying that she wanted to be very transparent about the month, the lockdown, how long it's going to take. Obviously, the biggest question is it going to be extended to a longer period of time? And she said, look, we actually don't know. We've got to watch the stats. So she said, as and when the stats come in about social transmission and extra testing and so on, they'll know roughly what's happening with the virus, whether it's spreading, whether they're in control of it. But at the moment, our listeners all around the world are in a very similar situation. None of us know where the virus is going long-term, worldwide, globally. Are we reducing? Are we increasing? Interestingly, yesterday, I saw that also Singapore, where the children's father lives, they were very much in control of it. Numbers were reducing. So they weren't so strict with lockdown. And now the numbers are increasing. So they're having to come back to lockdown.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Nobody wants lockdown to end too quick for us to only go back into it. It would actually be, I think everybody's line of thinking is they would prefer to stay in lockdown until it is in control. But I suppose because we are such a small nation and we are quite far removed from the rest of the world, we're in quite a nice situation, really, because we are seeing what's happening, what the patterns are around the world. We're in quite a privileged position. So, and I know we are we're taking that in our stride, aren't we? And we're using all of that further information from around the world. We do not have an ignorant government. They are taking advice and they do seem to be running it really well. However, as we say, there is so many unknowns. Nobody knows what the global impact of this is going to be financially, emotionally. There's going to be, as we said, there's going to be good stories that come out of this, stories of sadness, stories of grief. There's just so much, but really every day is actually unknown as well. I know this is a situation that's bringing us all together in a way because we've all got some kind of commonality now. But actually, we often do just live in the unknown. We think we know stuff. We think we know our routine. We think we know how our life's going. And quite often, the carpet's pulled from under us, and we've got no flipping idea.
But isn't it a measure then of how well everybody is doing? And I have to say to all the listeners out there, whatever your circumstances, if you're struggling, and I've actually had a bad day today, put something on my Facebook about being a lack of chocolate in the house and having a really bad day. But in terms of having such a change in our lives so quickly, whether it's teens you're struggling with, whether it's isolation you're struggling with, whether it's if you haven't got food in the house, you haven't got something to fix your toilet with, whatever's the situation, everybody's actually doing really well. And I was thinking about if the country or the world, globally, the politicians had said, in 6 months' time, we're all around the world going to lockdown. You're going to be in your houses for a month at least. Your children are not going to go to school. You can't go to work. Probably it would have taken 6 months planning for people to think, I've got to get food in the house, I've got to plan everything, I've got to make sure I've got everything ready. And it would have taken 6 months. And so therefore, isn't it a measure of how well everybody has done that literally overnight, the world has shut down globally. People have stopped going for work. Schools are shut down. We've had to get supplies in. We've had to manage children and our elderly relatives and friends and being in our bubbles. I think it's absolutely extraordinary to think we could have planned it for 6 months and it would have been panic. And yet everybody did it relatively smoothly in New Zealand over a period of 2 days. I think it's remarkable. And I think everybody should give themselves a pat on the back and say, it's pretty amazing what everyone's done.
Yep, I agree. And everybody, we're all just we have to just take each day as it comes, don't we? And we're always listening to the new updates that the government, and they are providing them on a daily basis, which is great. And I think that reduces the fear ever so slightly. There's going to be people out there who are living in fear. Unknown brings fear. But then there's people, we're talking to people on a daily basis, aren't we? And we're talking to many, many people. Most people are trying to make the best of the situation, that the people who we're coming into contact with. However, there is dire stories as well, but at the end of the day, we are all in the unknown. But I think it's really important to remember that we're always in the unknown.
Mm-hmm. And how people start to work together and think of each other. I mean, we've talked today to a psychologist, we've talked today to a business owner, and the business owner was very much thinking about his employees, and he spoke about something I hadn't even considered, that most of his employees were over the age of 70. So even when he could stay open as a business before lockdown and we went into level 3, he lost his employees. He was on his own trying to run the shop, and everybody was rushing into the shop trying to buy everything last minute, and there he was. So everybody's in such a different situation. And yet everybody is coping. Everybody is doing remarkably well. I find it absolutely extraordinary to think how we can connect, how we can support each other and be there.
We all have our moments of madness, don't we? And you and I have worked a lot on ourselves. We have growth mindset. We try to take each situation as it comes. However, we are still human as well. And we've had moments within these 10 days, these 2 weeks, where we've gone, and everything's just been very overwhelming, and we've wanted to escape, and we've wanted to run away, because that's being human, and that's just having compassion and kindness for yourself and accepting that some days, or an hour of the day, or a few minutes of the day, might not seem as rosy as other times, or you might just have a few really bad days. That's okay. That's okay. We are all in the unknown.
We are totally in the unknown. And I find it really interesting to think that some businesses right now are just not needed, and yet other businesses have just exploded overnight. I was looking at some stats today. I put into the internet unknown business success, and do you know what it came up with? It said that there's a 725% increase in interest in people buying dumbbells.
Well, it said there was strong arms.
Well, you'd like that. You've already got your dumbbells though, haven't you, Jo? You don't need any more. It said there was a 532% increase in people wanting to buy vitamin C gummies. You know what gummies was? Is gummies the little bears?
No, they will just be a little chewy vitamin C. But because we're told to have vitamin C and zinc, aren't we? We're told that boost our immune system, that will help our immunity. So that all totally makes sense.
And you dropped some off in my letterbox, actually, didn't you?
I did.
Mailbox. And for those people that live overseas that don't have mailboxes, in England you have a letterbox in your front door. So Jo didn't come up to my front door and put it through the letterbox. She went to my mailbox at the end of the street. I miss having a letterbox, actually, where people put things into your house. Powdered milk up 516%. B-days up 379%.
That's because every bugger went out and bought the toilet rolls. Silly people. Silly.
Bread makers up 374%. External monitors, which I guess is a computer monitor, isn't it? As opposed to a laptop.
Maybe, who knows?
160%. Freeze-dried food up 131%, and a mouse or mice for laptops up 85%.
It makes total sense, really, doesn't it?
Doesn't say loo rolls though. What do you think loo rolls would be? It must top the whole lot.
Maybe. I know, crazy, but makes sense. Okay, my little quote of the day. We do not fear the unknown. We fear what we think we know about the unknown. And that was by Teal Swan. And I just think that's really quite fitting, because how can you fear the unknown? Because we don't know what the heck is going to happen in the unknown. We fear what we think we know. So this is where we are in the unknown now. So people may be thinking things like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house because I can't pay my mortgage. Oh my goodness, how am I going to pay my rent? I'm going to be in rent arrears. Oh my goodness, where am I going to find money to buy food? Oh my goodness, what if there's no job at the end of this? I've got no job. If there's no job, I can't do this, I can't do that. Everything's going to be awful. It's fearing something you think about the unknown. At the end of the day, we are all in a situation. Most people have got no idea how they're going to pay the mortgage. A lot of people have got no idea how they're going to pay the rent. Some people don't know how they're going to buy food. There's lots of people in the same situation, but it's thinking about, if that is your actual reality here and now, yes, of course, it's something you have to address. How am I going to pay the rent this week? Yes, it is something you have to think about. However, if you're thinking about 6 months down the line, oh, goodness, if we stay on lockdown for 6 months and I can't pay my business rent, I'm going to have to shut my business. You're fearing something you're predicting, yet you've got no idea. It's this whole thing. It's like being on that rat race of worrying about something.
So, Jo, for listeners that are in that place of fear about 6 months' time because they fear the business is going to end and there won't be money, how does one stop oneself going to that place of fear? Because once you partner with fear, then obviously it's really difficult to sleep at night, stress increases, the adrenaline rush increases, the immune system is lowered and so on. So it's a negative spiral to get into, isn't it? What's the strategy you would use then when you start to feel yourself partnering with fear? How do you stop it?
It's a little bit like when you're on the process of having an anxiety attack, isn't it? You go from a level 1 to 10. And once you're at level 10, the anxiety attack's going to happen. You cannot stop it. Mm-hmm. However, if you start to notice the warning signs, you can pull yourself back at a 3 or a 4 or maybe a 5. But once you tip over the edge, you're heading towards your anxiety attack. And it's a little bit like when we're with fear. Yes, of course, as I say, you and I are human. We are probably thinking how the heck we are going to pay our rent. Of course we do. It comes into our mind. However, we don't let it engulf us. So what we do is we go for grounding techniques. We ask ourselves the question, is this actually the reality? Is this actually the truth? Is this really the truth of today? And then there's other techniques you can use. Once you've answered the questions, once you've actually, because we are so good at telling ourselves a story. So we've built up a story about 6 months' time, about all the outcomes that can happen, all these negative things. But also there's a lot of positive things that could happen. So ask yourself, is the story you're telling yourself accurate? Is it the truth? Is it based on facts? Because often we can go, actually, we just don't know. And think also back in your life, this is another good thing to do. Sometimes things have happened to us and we've gone, oh my God, the worst thing's just happened. I.e., you've lost your job. And then 2 months later, you get another job. And then 2 months after that, you go, oh my goodness, this is like the best job I've ever had. I'm so glad I lost my job. Yeah, 4 months ago, you would never have said that. It was the worst time of your life. So we label things as good and bad. We are so easy and quick to label situations. Is there really a good or a bad, or is it just is?
Yeah.
It just is. So these are all ways to ground stuff. And no, as we say on every episode, are these things easy? No, they take practice, but they are well worth doing because they stop them anxiety attacks in the middle of the night. They allow you to have some sleep and they keep you grounded. Again, practice gratitude. We cannot go on about this enough. Find things to be grateful for. Because none of us know if we're going to have our house in 6 months. But I'm pretty sure the way the world's going, something's going to have to happen for all of those people who can't pay their mortgage and pay their rent. They're not just going to stick us all on a scrap heap and leave us to it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Cornelia Inkheart has a lovely quote. She says, nothing is more frightening than the fear you cannot name. So what you're talking about is our mind is jumping to conclusions. It's preempting what might happen. And as she says, if you cannot name the fear, then why step in and partner with it? So actually we can say to ourselves, what is the worst thing that is happening right now in this very present moment? Have I got a roof over my head? Yes, I have. Are the children safe, even though they might be bickering and arguing, not doing their schoolwork? Are they safe? Are they healthy? Yes, they are at the moment. So what is the worst fear that's actually happening right now, not in the future? Because when we're in it, we have to face reality. And then when we look back, we can say we've always had a roof over our head. There's always been some money coming that's supported us for food, or people have always dropped something to the letterbox to support us when we've not had anything. So have I always been okay? Yes, I have. What is the worst fear that happened? If you cannot name that fear, then don't partner with it. Yeah. And it is catching it, isn't it? As you say, if you go from a level 1 to 10, it's catching it before it happens.
Absolutely.
So those people listening, what at the moment is your greatest fear of the unknown? And is it something that your mind is inventing, making up? Because there is a bigger picture. A few days ago, none of us would have comprehended the whole world would stop in an instant, globally, everywhere. And none of us can also comprehend how we might come out of this. It might just, the virus might stop overnight. It might be that there's incredible transformation. None of us know. So the other way of partnering with the future is actually to be excited by it. And that's when you come into gratitude. What if everybody woke up to what's really important in life? What if suddenly people really built connection? What if people really realized how much they appreciated me and I appreciate them? So therefore, when this is all over, what's the first thing I'm going to go and do? And to wake up in the morning, convert that sense of fear about the future into, wow, what can I be really excited by? And Joe and I are very much about the two extremities in life, the dichotomy of extremes, and we can partner with one or the other. We can bring the two together, or we can say, I'm not going to partner with fear. I'm going to come into a sense of happiness, excitement, and prosperity, and therefore draw it into my life.
And I think ending on this quote is a really good one, because everything that you've just said brings us together. It says, how can you know what you're capable of if you don't embrace the unknown? And that's by Esmeralda Santiago. How can we know what we're capable of? We are capable of so much. Please do not underestimate yourself. You know, think about all the things you've survived. Think about all the things you've got through already in life. Life throws things at us daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. There's always things. We always get to the end of the year and we think, next year is going to be great. You know, this is how people think, how they operate as New Year comes along. And then next year comes along and it's not really what you expected. It's the unknown. So please believe in yourself and know that you have capabilities which go so deep and maybe you haven't even discovered yet. So have faith in yourself, because the unknown can be scary if you allow it to be.
And also, well done to all of you who are listening, because it takes courage to do what you have done for the last 12, 13 days. I know in Italy and Spain it's a bit longer, England, Singapore a bit behind us. So we're all at different stages, but just give yourself a pat on the back. And if you've had a bad day like me, just say it's okay, because we're going to have bad days. We can't be perfect all the time. And Joe and I were talking to psychologists earlier, and we were just saying we're all doing the best we can do in the circumstances that we're in, with the situations that present, and we haven't planned for this like we normally do with work. We normally have schedules and routines. We haven't got that in place. So I think everybody's doing remarkably well. I'm actually so impressed by how the transition has gone from everybody being in the workplace to this. And actually for our essential workers, we thank you so much for what you're doing, because you're putting yourself in vulnerable situation, sometimes dangerous situations, to save lives, while a lot of us are sitting at home. So to our essential workers out there, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you that you are keeping our planet running, that you are looking after so many people, you're delivering the supermarket food, you are doing so much for us. So thank you so much from everyone that's sitting at home.
And we look forward to joining us on day 14. We will be back tomorrow.